It is Monday the 17th of June. I've just got back from Sweden, so that means it's time for another Speedway Grand Prix vlog. I set off for Gatwick around 5 AM on Thursday. Alice gave me a lift to the airport, but this would be the first GP of 2024 in which I would be travelling all by myself. Melilla is probably the most remote location on the calendar this year, now the Tetrov has been dropped. It really was difficult to say goodbye to Alice, especially knowing that I had a 10 or 11 hours of loneliness ahead of me. When I got on the plane, I was lucky enough to have a whole row to myself, so I put my feet up and was able to relax. Well, after a 90-minute delay on the jetway anyway. 2 hours later, I landed in Gothenburg. I booked a car on kayak for £124 for 4 days, just a few days before my departure. I turned up expecting a rust bucket that'd probably been through some hard times, but it turned out to be a brand new hybrid Mercedes-Benz. After getting my bearings with the car, I set off for Vimmerby. It was a long drive across Sweden, but after about 3.5 hours, I dumped my bags at the hotel and headed straight for the Squatfrag Arena for rehearsals. The next day, I headed to the track about 3 PM to watch the qualifying for the SGP2. Just after qualifying, the heavens opened up and the track became saturated with water, so I took cover in the car and tried to get a bit of rest before the main event. The SGP2 was excellent. Leon Flint, who the bookies had to finish 15th, narrowly missed out on the semi-finals and placed in 9th. The British rider also banked his first ever SGP2 race win. I was gutted for Philip Hallström-Bangs. He was absolutely flying all night, but he just missed out on a podium in his home SGP2 event to the 3 Polish youngsters. The following day, it was going to be a long one. I had to be at the track for around 11 AM for a few last-minute checks before DJing for the SGP4. The weather was good, and watching the youngest level of World Championship racing was really entertaining. Brady Landon was absolutely unstoppable. He is definitely going to be a name to keep an eye on in a few years' time when he moves on to the 500cc machines. The gap between the main event and the SGP4 was supposed to be around 5 hours. So once again, I retired to the car to listen to a podcast and try and get some rest. I had a long night ahead of me. As I left the car to go back to my DJ box, the rain started to fall. And over the next hour or so, it got worse and worse and worse. I started playing music around 6 PM. I put together a 40-minute set where I could play more popular songs from the Swedish charts as the event drew closer. But after just 15 minutes, I knew that we wouldn't be starting on time. I wanted to leave all the songs that had been number one in the Swedish music charts for the main event. I had multiple tabs open on my phone, and I was trawling through as many weeks of the Swedish music charts over the past 5 or 6 years as possible, digging out as much music as I could that had been popular in Sweden and the rest of Europe at some point in the last couple of years. I still needed more music, so I posted on my Twitter asking for requests, as I knew that my set could be clearly heard through the TV broadcast. If the requests were fitting with what I was doing, I intended on playing as many as possible, and they really did bulk out the set list. I thought I was impressed with the track maintenance in Prague, but my god, this was a whole new level. If this had been anywhere else in the world, there's no chance the event would have gone ahead. But Phil Morris and the track staff worked absolute miracles, and after a 90-minute or so delay, bikes started to come out onto the track. Unbelievably, this could have been the best Grand Prix of the year so far. How on earth did we get so much good racing with a track that 90 minutes before was literally underwater? Heat 11 for me was one of the highlights of the night. And as Calvin would say, you could throw a blanket over all 4 of them. The Swedish fans really did bring the noise when Lindgren flew into first place as well. Zmarzlik got his first GP win of 2024, but boy did he have to work for it to get the better of Max Frick. Frick, Lambert and Holder were all absolutely flying all night. Anybody could have been a deserved winner in that final. With the event running on later than expected, the 1 hour of sleep that I scheduled found itself firmly in the bottom of the bin. I had some food with Straw Hill in the catering tent before driving 30 minutes back to the hotel. I picked up my suitcase and started driving across Sweden to Gothenburg Airport. It's weird in Sweden. It doesn't get fully dark this time of year, and it's only between 11:30 PM and 2:30 AM that it doesn't feel like it's broad daylight. The 3.5 hour drive across the country at 1:30 AM was an absolute killer, and I felt so relieved when I parked the car up and headed into the terminal. It's safe to say I'm exhausted beyond words, but the Speedway Grand Prix of Sweden was absolutely amazing. If you're new here, don't forget to click subscribe to keep up with all the latest Speedway news and my vlogs as well. Clicking on the thumbs up button helps the channel grow as well. So if you could do that for me, I'd be really grateful. Anyway, I'm off to get some rest, so I'll see you guys in the next one.